Okay, it's Friday, November 5th, about 10 o'clock in the morning, almost done trading for the day. I'll show you the stocks that I've been tracking and trading and what's going on in the market. It was a type of day where we did gap up big, at least for certain stocks, because there was a great jobs report. It's Friday, but the market's been going up pretty significantly over the last few weeks. If I look at the SPY here, you can see we're in a big uptrend recently, and now we're gapping higher on good news. So that could be kind of a sell the news event. You got to be careful here. We are kind of just pausing all morning, so that might be a sign we continue just higher on the day because the market definitely strong. But you never know if we might just use this as an opportunity for a pause and a rest in the market. You could see this a lot of the main stocks I follow, the FANG stocks. Netflix opened lower and really couldn't rally, and now is curling lower. It's not above the halfway point of yesterday. Facebook actually had a decent opening, even though it was kind of gapping up. It just kind of curled lower and starting higher, but nothing special today. Even Nvidia, which has been one of the strongest stocks lately, I don't know if you can see it here. That's just been up really big. That one had a wild opening. We couldn't take out the overnight highs, and now we are grinding higher, but you can see selling's coming in. So that's not following through after the big gap up, and Apple is actually heading lower after the open. So anyway, I'll look at the stocks that I was tracking and trading. It's in the blue screen here, or the blue charts here on the screen. And there were a few I was focused on, and I traded all four, and I'll just show you what developed. First of all, I liked, Qualcomm. Let me go in order here, which is a really good trade. Yesterday, it had the gap up, and I was actually, on big earnings, so I was interested in it. But kind of like on the day when they gap up, it's tricky if you're going to get follow through. The first two bars were pausing, and I was looking to buy above the blue line, but it never really triggered. Then, as I talked about on a recap video yesterday, it does come down into the gap and then curls up with a 15-minute bar. It could have been a decent buy, but it was kind of later in the session, so I didn't do it, and I had some other stocks. But I said it's a good one to track, and you can see here overnight it just went sideways, and you're anticipating after this big gap up some follow through higher after a pause. So what you had here is on the opening bar on the 5-minute chart, it opened up lower, just the first 5 minutes, right down to support the yellow line, yesterday's close, and the overnight action, and then started up on the second 5-minute bar. So I bought it right there, making a new high, and then in anticipation of a good 15-minute green bar. And what you had was kind of a neutral 15-minute green bar, but still good enough to hang in there and see if we followed through. If it would have come down, I would have probably exited and tried again. But in this case, we held in there, started up, and it's just been a great trade for big gains today on Qualcomm. Airbnb was another stock I also was interested in just because of the big gap up. If we look here, it's been moving higher, and then today pre-open had a great move up. And then I really like when these pre-open stocks kind of drift a little lower, because then it looks, they're going to at least test those highs that were made overnight, and probably extend a little higher. And what you had here on Airbnb, I wish it would have not been as, it's still a really great gain I had, but it opened up really strong on the first 5-minute bar. So I went ahead and bought it right after, on that second 5-minute bar, making a new high, which is right near the overnight highs. That was kind of the target. And I would have loved for that 5-minute bar to be a little bit below that, so at least I had room from a trade management standpoint to manage it in case we failed up there. But in this case, we were breaking through that. Once I saw it head up there, I just wanted to make sure we were breaking through that level. I felt comfortable. I got in here at like 194, and we've gone up to close to 200. So that's a great gain. And if you can look on the 15-minute chart, we paused for a bar, then went higher. We're pausing again, and this looks like it wants to make another push higher. And there's targets up above, but it's a good gain here. If you want to hold on to some of the position and try one more push up, that's a good opportunity. Boeing, I traded on the same kind of basis, that it's a good opening stock, had a good first 15-minute bar. On the 5-minute chart, it actually looked as good as any when the first two 5-minute bars paused. I love that kind of a setup, and then it moved higher on that third bar. I bought it into the breakout of that new high. Then the 15-minute obviously chart had a big, you could see these first 3 5-minute bars had a good green action, so you ended up with a good 15-minute bar. It paused, and I wanted to see this thing heading higher like these other stocks, but instead it broke lower, and I took a very small loss exiting on this bar here. Now, I believe it can still, on these kind of big gap ups, it like I said, it's tricky on that first follow through many times. So a lot of times it has to come down kind of like Qualcomm you saw and curl higher. And that seems to be doing that now. I don't know how much follow through you're going to get from the open, but it's a decent stock still to watch. A little tricky to trade today. And that's why I kind of knew that. And I was doing well on the other stock. So I just decided exit this one because it's an uncertain situation. Very small loss, almost break even here. And finally, Uber. That was another one of these opening stocks, given the news today that looked possibly good. And if you look at the 5-minute chart, again, I bought that here on this, again, type of thing where we're moving up big in the pre-market on our earnings, actually, for Uber. And then we kind of made that first 5-minute lower, then a pause, then we started up on that third 5-minute bar. So I bought it right there. And what I did on this one, you could see the blue line. I scaled out of half the position up there because in the bigger picture, I know that that's key resistance in a pause area like the 48.85 area, I believe. So when it came up there early in the morning, I did scale out of half the position. And then as it was kind of, to me, I wanted to see if it just paused there and then broke through, and then it kind of was pausing and I was watching it and it came back down to my entry point and I just exited the second half of the position there just because, even though I still think there's a good chance this is just going to pause in this area and eventually break through and then move up into the, I don't know if you can see on this chart, the high 50s. Well, on the daily chart, you can see it. The low 50s is kind of the next target area if we break through this blue line. But on this day, I just, again, it came down a little more than I would have liked on that after that pause. And so I just decided to take a very small gain overall on this position. So bottom line, overall small gain on Uber, very small loss, almost break even on Boeing, and then two very nice wins on Airbnb and Qualcomm here. And that was my trading for the day, focusing on those stocks. Other stocks, like you can even see Tesla really opened up lower and really barely made an intraday high and it's pausing. So this may want to go up, but these stocks that have been extended haven't, really followed through, that already extended, haven't followed through much today. And then the stocks like Coinbase and CrowdStrike, you can see they're moving lower. So there's nothing there on the open, that was even interesting. All those stocks have been up. Well, Coinbase has been up a lot lately. CrowdStrike is still kind of more or less pausing. I watch that here and there. So, one of those days where the overall market's a little tricky given the fact that many stocks have been up, but the stocks that I tracked on the blue line did very well for another a good day of trading, and we'll see what happens next week.